Didn't those beautiful beach scenes make you wish you were at the beach? I can't wait to go to the beach. I have another 4 weeks to go. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. I'm really looking forward to today's tutorial because I really love making beach themed jewelry. And I think you do too, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But anyway, if you like those 2 necklaces and pair of earrings that you saw in the intro, you're going to like today's tutorial. We're going to be using the beads that came in the GGC Treasure bag, the summer release. And if you're not familiar with that bag, I'll leave a link down below to the website so you can go check it out. It's not a subscription, it's actually a limited edition. So once they're gone, they're gone. And some of you may have missed out. I'm sorry about that. If you don't want to miss out next time, I encourage you to go to the website and sign up for notifications so you'll be notified the next time a new bag gets released. Another thing I want to mention is that this jewelry is actually not waterproof, so you're not going to be able to take it to the beach and get it wet, unfortunately. But they're nice pieces to wear if you're going to dinner or to lunch or window shopping or just cruising around on the boardwalk. And before we start, if you're new and you think you might like my content, please think about subscribing to this channel because it really does help my channel and it helps me to stay motivated to create more videos for you. Plus you're going to get some nice content. And don't forget guys that I always leave timestamps down below in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. I'm also going to leave a list of all the materials that we're going to be using today. And as always, I will model the necklaces at the end of the video, so stick around for that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we have the GGC Treasure bag. This is the summer edition. The name of this bag is Deep Sea Jewels. And guys, this is probably the largest collection of beads I've ever received from anybody. As you can see, the bag is so big, it barely fits within the frame of my camera. But anyway, I did do an unbagging, and if you haven't seen the video, I'll link it down below. I was very impressed with the entire collection. It was so beautiful. Different shapes, different sizes, different finishes, and lots of ocean-themed components. And since there are so many items in this bag, I'm not going to dig through them. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out the beads and components that we're going to be using today. So let me do that and I'll see you in a few moments. Here are the items we're going to be using from the bag. We have a strand of column beads. They're frosted white beads and they have a little bit of a rainbow effect on the surface. Let me show you. They measure 7.5 by 4 millimeters. And I don't know if you can see the rainbow effect. It's really pretty. I really love these. It's a very subtle rainbow effect. And here we have some starfish beads. The color is sea green. Let me put one on a dish and show you. They measure 14 by 15 by 6.5 millimeters. Aren't they cute? I think they're adorable. We're going to use a couple of them on the long necklace, 3 of them on the choker necklace, and then 2 of them for earrings. And there are still plenty left over. The bag came with 20 total. And here we have some cute fish beads. These are so cute. I love these. They're electroplated glass fish beads, and they measure 14 by 10 millimeters. And there are actually 2 colors there. 4 of them are clear and 5 are a very pale yellow color. You can barely see the yellow, but I think what I'll do is mix them up. And here we have a toggle clasp. You can certainly use a lobster clasp if you want to, but the bag came with a whole bunch of these toggle clasps, so I thought I would use one. And here we have a gorgeous mermaid pendant. I think it's really beautiful. Look at this. It measures 59.5 by 17.5 millimeters, and it's in an antique silver color. And somebody asked me a question the other day about what they could use to prevent tarnishing. What I normally use is something called Permalac. I think Potomac Beads carries it, but you can also find it on Amazon. You simply brush it on and let it dry, and it's pretty durable. But the best thing to do is to just keep the components clean and dry, and try not to get lotion or perspiration on them. And here we have a very beautiful heart pendant. It's so gorgeous. It's made out of shell. It measures 20 by 21 by 3.5 millimeters, and it has a bail already. Look at the gorgeous iridescence. It's so pretty. It really is. We're going to be using a few more items that are not from the bag, so let me go get them. We're going to be using some craft wire. This one's 18 gauge and this one's 20 gauge. We're only going to use about a 3.5 inch piece of 18 gauge wire, so you're not going to need that much. But we are going to be building some beaded components with a 20 gauge wire, and you'll definitely need a little bit more for that. I also have some size 80 seed beads down here. They're Toho round seed beads. And I'll be using some other small items such as crimp tubes, jump rings, crimp tube covers, beading wire, but I'll go over that with you later on. So now that we've gone over the main materials, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to make the longer necklace first, and these are the items we're going to be using. As you can see, I have a piece of 18 gauge wire. It's 3.5 inches long. And then I have 4 smaller pieces of 20 gauge wire, and each one of those is about 1.75 inches to 2 inches. I'm going to use these four on these 4 beads. You could probably get away with shorter pieces, but if you're a beginner, I recommend you give yourself enough wire so you're not struggling. Each one of these 4 beads here, the 2 fish and the starfish, are going to be on their own separate piece of wire, and these 4 are going to be loaded on this longer piece. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but I did alternate the colors. So I've got a yellow one, then a clear one, a yellow one, and then a clear one. And these 2 are yellow, but you can barely notice the difference. Now, one thing I want to stress, you need to make sure that your wire doesn't have any kinks in it because it's 18 gauge, it's pretty thick. So if it has any kinks, you may have trouble loading these beads onto it. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to create a simple loop. So I'm going to grab my wire about 3/8 to 1/2 inch down, something like that, and kink it. And now I'm going to grab it with my round nose pliers. You want to make sure that it's nice and flush. And I'm simply going to loop it now. You want to make sure you close your loop, and you want to make sure that it's centered as well. So now let's go ahead and load these fish beads. So that looks really nice. I like that. And now we're going to create a curve to match the curve of this pendant. I didn't do it before loading these beads because it would have been really difficult to slide the beads onto curved wire. So now before you curve it, you want to make sure there are no spaces. So now we're going to go ahead and bend it. And you want to do it nice and slow. You want to make sure those beads are still sitting properly on that wire and there are no spaces in between. I think that looks good enough. Let me see. That's pretty close. So now I'm going to go ahead and loop this side. I'm going to kink my wire. Snip off the excess. And create a loop. So that's what we have so far. I think it looks really nice. It's going to sit something like that. Let me put it off to the side. And now we're going to build some beaded components. And it's the same thing, guys. I'm going to grab the wire, 1/2 inch down, kink it, grab the end, make sure it's flush, loop it, make sure your loop is centered, and make sure it's closed. Load one of these beads, grab the wire, line up the bottom loop, kink it, snip off the excess, grab the end, and loop it. Make sure your loop is centered. And you want to make sure your loops are facing the same direction as well. Even though I line up the bottom loop before I loop it, mine still get out of alignment a little bit. So now I'm going to do the same thing with these 3. As you can see, I've created my 4 beaded components, these 2 and these 2, and I also have my longer one here with the 4 fish, and I have my pendant and 3 jump rings. The large one is 6mm in size, and the 2 small ones are 4mm. So now we just need to assemble everything. But I wanted to give you a little tip first. Whenever you're working with starfish beads, there's an easy way to do it and there's a difficult way to do it. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a starfish bead. Here's a piece of wire. I've already created a loop. I'm going to go in from underneath like this in between the little legs of the starfish so that the loop sits right there. So when you go to create your second loop, it's a little bit easier. you have more access. If you were to do it the other way, let me show you. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of space in this little gap there in between the legs of the starfish. So it's better to insert the pin this way and then do your loop on that end. So now let's go ahead and assemble this. I'm going to open up this jump ring. I'm going to slide the pendant onto it. Let me close it up. And now I'm going to open up this little one. I'm going to slide it onto the pendant. And now I'm going to slide on this mermaid pendant. And close it up really well. We need these jump rings because of that bail. I could have removed it, but the loop of that heart pendant is a little bit too small and it would have been too difficult to insert 2 jump rings into it. So I think this works out just fine. Let me open up this one now. I'm going to slide it onto the 6mm jump ring. And now I'm going to slide on this component. Let me close it up. So that's what we have so far, and the rest is pretty easy. Let me open up this loop, connect the starfish to it, and close it. And now I'm going to open up this loop and hook it onto the mermaid pendant and close it. I think that looks so cute. Let me do the same thing on this side now. Tell me that's not cute. I think it's adorable. So now we just need to finish it with chain. Here's my chain. So what I'm going to do is connect one end of the chain to this end, and then I'm going to take the whole thing to the mirror and hold it up to my chest and figure out how much chain I need to cut. Let me show you how to connect the chain. It's pretty easy, but I know we have some beginners watching, so I'm going to go ahead and show you. You simply open up that loop, connect the link of the chain to it, like that, and close it up. So now let me take this to the mirror and I'll be right back. I'm back. As you can see, I've connected the chain. I figured I needed about 5 inches worth, so 5 inches per piece. The total length of the necklace is going to be about 18 inches. Obviously, you can make yours as long as you want to. You can even add more beaded components if you want to lengthen it. So now I just need to attach the toggle clasp. Let me open up this jump ring. These are 4mm size jump rings. I'm going to connect the bar portion first. And now let me connect it to this end. And close up my jump ring. Let me open up this one now. Connect the ring portion and connect it to this end. And close it up. So there's my beautiful ocean themed necklace, fit for a mermaid. Of course, I'm gonna have to find a mermaid now to give it to. I think it's super cute. I'm glad I alternated the colors of the fish. Yellow, clear, yellow, clear, yellow, and then yellow on that side. So anyway, guys, we're gonna move on to the choker necklace now. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the beads we're gonna be using for the shorter necklace. As you can see, I've already loaded them on rods, and if you've been following my channel, you'll know what these are. They're called magic rods. I use them to arrange bead patterns, or if I'm trying to figure out the length of a necklace and whether or not I have enough beads, I use these rods a lot. I didn't want to bore you by showing you how I load them, but basically I pick up the beads with the rods. The rods are very sturdy, so they hold all kinds of beads, heavy beads, light beads, small beads, and large beads. But what's nice about them is that once I load one rod, I simply measure it and then I hold up the second rod up against it to make sure that they're the same length. So you don't need to count beads. The other thing that's nice is that I can load seed beads along with other larger beads, as you can see. And then I hold them together with these little stoppers. I'm not sure if you can see them right there on the ends. And that helps me to get accurate measurements. The magic rods come in 2 sizes, 9 inches and 12 inches. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to my Etsy store down in the description section of this video. So this portion here is a little bit less than 2 inches, and then each one of these rods has 6.5 inches worth of beads. So by the time I add the jump rings and the clasp, the necklace will be about 16 inches long. I'm going to be using some bead-along beading wire, and this one's 49 strand. It's 0.015 of an inch thick, or 0.38 millimeters. Let me cut myself a piece. Here it is. Let me attach this clip so I don't lose my beads. You can use a bead stopper if you want to. And this piece is about 20 inches long, but I probably don't need that much. It's just better to have a little bit more than not enough. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold onto the rod like this, and now I'm going to slide this little stopper off very carefully. And then offload from the rod directly onto my beading wire. It's very simple. And since the rod holds the beads in alignment, I'm able to offload multiples at a time. So let me keep going. As you can see, I've loaded all my beads onto the beading wire, and now I'm ready to crimp it off. Here are my crimp tubes. They're bead-along crimp tubes, size number 2, and they're in a silver color, as you can see. I think they measure 2 millimeters long. And here I have a couple of clamshell covers. I'm going to use them to cover up the crimp tube once I squash it. Let me go ahead and open one up to make it easier. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to thread my beading wire through the bottom of the clamshell cover like this, and now the crimp tube. And now using my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab that crimp tube and I'm going to squash it. Now you don't want to squash it too much because it will break or crack if you squash it too much. Let me turn it this way. But you want to make sure that it's nice and squashed so that it won't come off. And now let me test it to make sure it's on there good. And it really is. So now I'm going to cut off the excess beading wire and close up my clamshell cover. Let me finish closing it with my pliers. And by the way, guys, I like to use the clamshell covers that have 2 loops because I find it's a little bit more secure than 1 loop. There's less of a chance that it'll slide through the gap of a jump ring. So now I'm going to do this end, and you do want to make sure there are no spaces in between your beads, but you want to keep it nice and flexible like this. Let me open up this clamshell cover. I'm feeding the beading wire through the bottom of it. And now the crimp tube. Bring it all the way down like this. And this part's going to be a little bit more challenging because I have to reach in there, which is why I like to open up the clamshell covers a little bit. So now I'm going to grab that crimp tube and I'm gently tugging on the beading wire like this. And now I'm going to go ahead and squash it. Let me squash this side now. And now let me test it. It's on there good. So now I'm going to cut off the excess. Close up my clamshell cover. So that side's done. Here are two 6mm jump rings, and here's a lobster clasp. Let me open up this jump ring. Slide on the clasp. Connect it to the necklace. Close up the jump ring. You do want to make sure that you use good jump rings that have clean cuts because you don't want any gap at all. You don't want the loops of the clamshell cover to slide through the gap of the jump ring. Let me open up this one now. Connect it to this end. And close it up. As you can see, it gives you a nice professional look. So there's my pretty choker necklace with starfish beads. So now I'd like to make a quick pair of earrings. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the earrings. As you can see, I've already made one. And it's very simple. It just has the starfish and the fish, the same beads that the longer necklace has. I've already put this one on wire, as you can see. It's on 20 gauge wire. And I have a head pin here for the fish. It's a flat head pin. So let me show you. I'm just going to slide it through the bead like this. Kink it. Snip off the excess, leaving about 1/2 inch. Grab it with my round nose pliers. Make sure it's flush. And loop it. It's a simple loop. You want to make sure it's nice and centered and closed. Just like that. So now I'm going to open up the loop, slide this component onto it, and close it. And now I'm going to open up this loop and slide the ear wire hook onto it and close it. So there's a cute pair of earrings to match the necklaces. So now let me get the other two necklaces and I'll arrange everything on my board. Here are the two necklaces and the pair of earrings. I think they look really nice and they coordinate really well. So if you wanted to wear both necklaces at the same time, you could, but I think I'd rather just wear one at a time. And I know you can't see the top of the necklaces, so let me see if I can move my board down. There's the top. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'd like to go ahead and put these on and show you what they look like. So I'll see you in a few moments. Well, do you like this set? I certainly do. I think they're adorable. I'm not sure if I'd wear them together like this though, although it does look nice, but I think I'd prefer to wear one or the other. I'd love to hear your opinion about that. If you have time, please leave some comments down below and let me know what you think. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.